Chapter 1. The Question in His Father's Eyes. The road had been months ago, but it lived on in his father's eyes, and Ethan knew he would be a long time putting it to rest. The spring had turned to summer and the summer toward fall, and on the surface the saved life had closed smoothly over the strange morning, the way water closes over a dropped stone. David had work, steadier work, safer work. The careless contractor Vance left behind without anyone quite deciding to leave him. The family was whole and warm and humming. The near crash on the flooded road had become a family story, told now and then with a shudder and a joke. The time Daddy nearly went off the road in the storm and little Ethan got so scared he fainted. Can you imagine? An ordinary story. A closed one. Except in his father's eyes, where it was not closed at all. Ethan caught the wondering in small moments, when David thought no one was looking. It would surface at odd times across the dinner table, in the basement on a Sunday, in the car. David would glance at his son, and something would move behind his eyes, a question reaching for a shape it could not find. Ethan knew the exact contents of it, because he had watched it being born on the flooded road and in the hospital hallway. You screamed at me not to go. You have never once done that. You clung to my leg like you knew it was coming. And on the water when the wheel went dead, you were calm. You were calm, bud, and then you were gone, out cold, for no reason any doctor could find, while I walked away from a crash I had no business walking away from. The pieces did not fit any picture David owned. So his mind, like the doctor's minds, slid off them and reached for the ordinary, a sensitive boy, a bad fright, a strange morning. But the pieces did not dissolve, and every so often they surfaced again, and the wondering moved behind his father's eyes. It was the bruise on the secret. Ethan had spent 5 years building a perfect invisibility, and to save his father he had cracked it, created 2 mysteries on one morning and spent everything he had to paper them over, and the papering had mostly held, but mostly was the problem. His father half knew something. Not the truth was unreachable. But the shape of something, the wrongness, the sense that his serious, sweet boy had reached into that morning and changed it. And a father's half-knowing, left to grow, could become a watching, and a watching could become the kind of attention Ethan could least afford. He had to put it to rest. Not with a lie, he had no lie large enough, but with the only thing that could ever dissolve a suspicion that had no proof, time and ordinariness, layered on so thick and so patient that the strange morning sank under it and never surfaced again. So Ethan began, that fall, the most delicate campaign of his second life, the long, gentle, deliberate burial of his own father's question. It could not be rushed, and it could not be obvious. A boy who suddenly became aggressively normal would be as strange as one who stayed eerie. The work had to be invisible, 1,000 small, ordinary days, each one adding a grain of nothing to see here, until the weight of the ordinary simply outweighed the one strange morning, and the question lost its hold. So Ethan made himself, more than ever, an ordinary boy in his father's sight. He was clumsy and forgetful in the small, believable ways. He was frightened by ordinary boy things and brave about ordinary boy things. He let his father teach him to do what his father loved, sanded a board badly in the basement, learned to hold a hammer wrong and then right, asked the questions a normal kid would ask, and let David have the simple joy of teaching a simple son. He buried the man so deep, in his father's presence, that the wondering had nothing to feed on. And slowly, grain by grain, across that fall and the winter after, it worked. He watched the question behind his father's eyes lose its sharpness, surface less often, fade toward the soft, shapeless place where families keep the things they cannot explain and choose not to. The strange morning sank, day by ordinary day, under the warm weight of 1,000 others. By the turning of the year it surfaced only rarely, and when it did it was gentler, more wistful than wary, a father marveling at a strange, lucky boy, not a man circling a thing that frightened him. It would never be entirely gone. Ethan understood that and accepted it. Some part of David Cole would always, in the deepest place, half know that his son had saved his life on that road by means no one could name. There was no burying that completely. He had cracked the secret too far for that. But half-knowing, soft and shapeless and unspoken, was something Ethan could live with. It was the sharp question he could not afford, the watching, the wondering, the circling, and that, patiently, he laid to rest. It cost him something, the campaign, in a way he only half let himself feel. Because the easiest way to soothe his father's question would have been to be distant, to pull back, to give David less to wonder at, to retreat into the buried man and let the boy go gray and unremarkable. Ethan refused that. He had not crossed a cold place without stars and bled out 5 years' power on a flooded road to keep his father at arm's length now. So he did the harder thing. He stayed close, stayed warm, stayed his father's son, and made the closeness itself the burial, so ordinary and so loving that the strange mourning could not survive in it. He let David teach him, and laugh with him and ruffle his hair, and the price of it was that every warm, ordinary moment was also, quietly, a move in the long game, a grain laid on the grave of a question, love and strategy braided together so tightly that even Ethan could not always tell them apart. He told himself that was all right. That love spent as strategy was still love, that the warmth was real even when it served a purpose, that a man could mean a thing completely and use it at the same time. He mostly believed it. And on the nights he didn't quite, he set the doubt down with everything else, in the cold and careful place, and went on with the work. The road was behind them. His father was alive, and softening, and the question in his eyes was sinking at last beneath the weight of the saved life. The long game had begun, and it began, like everything that mattered at home,